Okay, we're here with Tiana Kovac, our Generation Liberty campus coordinator at Macquarie University in New South Wales. She was part of the organising committee, I should say, for an event last week at the University of Sydney. Tiana, welcome to the program.
Hi, very good to be here. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. So, first of all, now we know you had a little bit of a problem with the Great Energy Debate. Why don't you tell us what happened?
Yeah, so, I guess it's not too surprising to hear this, but being part of the IPA and wanting a nice dialogue, we tried to get someone for renewable energy, coal and nuclear energy to have a really well-rounded debate, having people who are experienced in their fields, knowing what they spoke about. But long story short, as you had it, the renewable person decided to last minute publicly pull out from the debate.
Okay, now how did they go about pulling out?
Well, on our Facebook event that we had about the debate, they decided to post that the IPA were a climate-denying group and that we were incredibly biased in how we went about organising the event, which I'm not sure how that could be the case. And then they decided that they wouldn't give weight to coal or nuclear because it was so obvious that renewable energy was the only way forward.
So I think saying on the day that you've just looked into Generation Liberty, who you're having a debate with, saying on the day that you're going to do that is an absolutely outrageous move. So do you reckon the more probable was either fear or maybe cowardice?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was absolute cowardice. And the fact of the matter is that this speaker that we got for renewables, he had made a post about the IPA months prior. So he was well aware of who the organisation was and who we were as Generation Liberty. So it was almost as if he knew from the get-go that he was going to try and make life as difficult as possible and pull out last minute.
So just for our listeners, where was this guy from? What organisation?
From Extinction Rebellion.
Well, there you go.
So let's talk about it. So we try to have a debate where renewable energy could get represented by someone who, really loves renewable energy. If you're in Extinction Rebellion, you love renewable energy, and they pull out. But how did the debate end up going?
So, unfortunately, it didn't go as well as we anticipated it would go. That can only be as it was, given that we had one speaker pull out. Especially when you're looking forward to a well-rounded debate, and one speaker from a massive chunk of that debate pulls out, it's only going to suffer. However, we did still have the other two speakers who spoke on nuclear and coal, and they did a very good job. And I'd just like to add that given that it was organised in such an unbiased way, the nuclear energy person who spoke, he was actually a professor at Sydney Uni, he came out saying how much in favour he was for climate change. So, we had people from all around the board who were willing to come and listen. We had a good debate with some audience members as well. So, in the end, it worked out well enough.
Yeah, that's always the thing for me, just talking about that nuclear guy, where it's like if you really want to do something about climate change, then surely the answer is to embrace nuclear power. What was the feedback from students and attendees? Did we have a winner of the debate? And what was what did people walk away thinking that they weren't thinking when they walked in?
Well, they walked away thinking not very highly of Extinction Rebellion, for starters. And it also disappointed a lot of people to know that renewables wasn't being represented. So essentially, I think the general consensus fell onto nuclear being, one of the answers. And that was the consensus online from people who wanted to attend but couldn't, and those who did attend.
What was the reaction when you announced that this guy wasn't coming? Did you read out the statement? Did the punters go nuts? Did they throw beer bottles on the stage? What happened?
Well, it was all done online a couple of hours before the actual event. So it was more just a bit of a, what is going on here? Is it surprising? Not really. Were people unhappy about it? 100%. And there was a reasonable amount of backlash that the speaker received as a result.
All right. No, we've talked about this event enough. Tiana, why don't you tell us what made you get involved in Generation Liberty?
Well, I heard about the program from a good friend and now boss of mine, Renee Gorman, and it was just very appealing to have something else out there that is speaking for liberty, freedom of speech, and all of these values that personally in my family and in my life are really, really important and central to everything I do. And so joining it has actually given me this opportunity to go out there, speak to people who are like-minded and explore these ideas, which you really can't do a lot of the time these days.
Yeah, because like I was going through uni just before the IPA Generation Liberty program got off.
2 years
the
before.
ground. Oh, really? I thought it was like just as. But anyway, like stuff like a great energy debate or some of the other debates that Generation Liberty be having, they literally did not happen while I was at uni. There was no voice of them. So it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool being around events like this and actually giving people the ability to hear these new debates.
Yeah, 100%. It's hard work to do because you've got a vocal group of people who don't want you to speak, but it's really rewarding stuff and it is challenging in an exciting way.
Fantastic stuff. Now, just before we got on the phone to you, Tiana, Renee Gorman, who you mentioned before, is the National Manager of Generation Liberty. She told us that one of the reasons why you're involved with Generation Liberty and ideas about liberty is because of your background. Your grandparents escaped communism in Yugoslavia. Why don't you tell us about that and how that impacted your worldview?
Yeah, so obviously that's their story has kind of permeated through all the way to my generation. And essentially that was they were living in the former Yugoslavia and they wanted to have freedom of religion. They wanted to be able to speak about things. They wanted to be able to work and earn a good income and make a better life for themselves and for their children. And they just couldn't do that in Yugoslavia at the time. So my grandfather ended up having to flee to Germany and then eventually come to Australia, and my grandmother came not too long after that. And while being here in Australia, they were actually able to make a living for themselves and survive and fight hard for the values that were so important to them. And that's why, something like Generation Liberty is so important to have because it does reflect those values.
Awesome stuff, Tiana. We spoke to Luca Rossi last week, whose parents had also come from places with more authoritarian regimes, and he had a similar message. So thank you very much for speaking to us today. Good luck with your next event, and hopefully all the attendees turn up next time.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Tiana. Bye.
Bye.